in the WNBA. If you thought it was Paige, not anymore. If you thought it was Asia, get real. If you thought it was Angel, once upon a time. Nobody in the WNBA is a bigger star than Sophie Cunningham.
Sophie Cunningham just passed Paige Bucher's in Instagram followers. Let that sink in for a second. A role player who...
The WNBA is no stranger to passionate debates, but this time, the conversation spread far beyond the basketball court. Within hours, social media was flooded with dramatic claims, reaction videos, and conflicting opinions involving the Seattle Storm, Sophie Cunningham, and the growing rivalry between fan bases. On #WNBA, thousands of fans were asking the same question: what actually happened? Some online posts claimed there was major behind-the-scenes drama. Others argued the entire story had been exaggerated by viral headlines. Comments under @WNBA quickly filled with competing opinions. One side insisted there was more to the story than the public knew. Another urged fans to wait for reliable information before reaching conclusions. As the speculation grew, one thing became clear. The internet had turned a developing story into one of the biggest talking points in women's basketball. So today, we're separating public information from online speculation, examining why Sophie Cunningham's name became part of the discussion, and exploring how social media can transform ordinary basketball news into a nationwide debate. Because once we look beyond the headlines, the real story may be very different from what many fans first believed. The story didn't begin with an official announcement. It didn't begin with a press conference. And it didn't begin with a statement from the Seattle Storm. Instead, it started the way many modern sports stories do. A few social media posts, a handful of reaction videos, and thousands of fans trying to figure out what was actually happening. Within hours, dramatic headlines began appearing across the internet, linking the Seattle Storm and Sophie Cunningham to a growing online controversy. Some creators claimed there was major behind-the-scenes drama. Others insisted the reports had been exaggerated. On #WNBA, fans immediately split into two groups. One side believed there had to be more happening behind closed doors. The other urged everyone to wait for official information before drawing conclusions. Comments under @WNBA quickly filled with questions. What really happened? Is any of this confirmed? Why is everyone talking about Sophie Cunningham? As the discussion spread, basketball analysts reminded viewers that viral headlines often travel much faster than verified reporting. That's especially true in today's sports world. One clip becomes 100 reposts. One opinion becomes a trending topic. Before long, thousands of people are debating a story that is still missing key facts. Meanwhile, the Seattle Storm continued preparing for basketball. Players practiced. Coaches focused on upcoming opponents. The season moved forward. But outside the arena, the online conversation continued to grow. Supporters of Sophie Cunningham argued that fans should avoid jumping to conclusions based on sensational headlines. Others believed there was still important context waiting to emerge. Across #basketball and #WNBA, every new post generated another wave of reactions. Some creators promised exclusive details. Others focused on separating publicly known information from internet speculation. That difference became increasingly important, because in a league receiving more attention than ever before, every rumor has the potential to become tomorrow's biggest headline. Whether this story ultimately proves to have more behind it or simply becomes another example of social media moving faster than the facts, one thing is already clear. The conversation has captured the attention of basketball fans across the country. And the biggest question still hasn't been answered. By the following morning, the conversation had completely changed. What started as a handful of online posts had become one of the biggest talking points among WNBA fans. Everywhere you looked, another reaction video, another live stream, another creator claiming to have inside information. Across #WNBA, fans began comparing different versions of the story. Some posts claimed there had been serious behind-the-scenes conflict. Others argued the entire situation had been blown out of proportion by social media. The problem was, very few people were discussing the same set of facts. Instead, Everyone seemed to be reacting to different clips, different screenshots, and different interpretations. Comments under at WNBA filled with questions. Has anyone confirmed this? Where did this story actually start? Why are there so many different versions? Those questions highlighted a bigger issue in today's sports media. Information moves incredibly fast. Verification often takes much longer. Within hours, sports discussion pages, fan accounts, and YouTube channels had all joined the conversation. Some creators focused on basketball. Others focused almost entirely on the drama surrounding the headlines. As a result, the discussion became less about games and more about speculation. Basketball commentators reminded fans that stories involving well-known players often spread quickly because millions of people are already paying attention. When a recognizable name appears in a headline, engagement rises immediately. That doesn't necessarily mean every claim is accurate. It means interest is high. Meanwhile, supporters of Sophie Cunningham urged fans to avoid judging any situation before reliable reporting became available. Others argued that waiting for official information was the only responsible approach. Across #basketball and #WNBA, the debate continued growing. Every repost created another reaction. Every reaction inspired another theory. Before long, the online discussion had become almost impossible to separate from the original story. Yet while the internet continued debating, teams around the league remained focused on basketball. Practices continued. Game plans were prepared. Players concentrated on the next matchup. That contrast made the situation even more interesting. Inside the league, the season kept moving. Outside the league, social media kept asking questions. And that raised one final mystery. Would verified information eventually settle the debate, or had the online conversation already become bigger than the story itself? As another day passed, something unexpected happened. The original claim was no longer the center of attention. Instead, people started debating how the story itself had spread so quickly. Across #WNBA, fans weren't just asking what happened. They were asking who started the narrative and why so many different versions were circulating at the same time. Every sports podcast seemed to have an opinion. Every reaction channel offered a different timeline. Every live stream claimed to have a missing piece of the puzzle. The result? More confusion than clarity. Comments under @WNBA reflected just how divided basketball fans had become. Some viewers believed there had to be more information waiting to come out. Others argued that modern sports media often rewards dramatic headlines long before the complete picture is available. That debate became a story of its own. Basketball analysts pointed out that this isn't unique to the WNBA. It happens across professional sports. A short clip gets posted. A caption adds speculation. The clip gets reposted hundreds of times. Soon, many people are reacting to the caption rather than the original event. That's why experienced reporters often encourage fans to distinguish between verified reporting, opinion, and online speculation. Meanwhile, the attention surrounding Sophie Cunningham continued to grow, not because of an official announcement, but because her name had become part of one of the week's biggest online discussions. Supporters argued that athletes deserve to be judged primarily by what happens on the court. Critics countered that public figures will always face intense scrutiny in the social media era. Across #basketball, fans discussed a much broader issue. Has social media changed the way sports stories develop? Years ago, a major story often unfolded over several days as journalists gathered information. Today, thousands of posts can appear within minutes. Reaction videos are uploaded before full context is available. Opinions spread globally before many fans have even watched the original source. That speed has transformed sports coverage. It has also made it more challenging for viewers to separate confirmed developments from fast-moving online narratives. Even under posts from @WNBA, discussions shifted away from the original headline and toward bigger questions about reporting, fan expectations, and the responsibility of content creators. One thing became increasingly clear. The basketball community wasn't just interested in one story. It was interested in understanding how stories become so influential in the first place. And as more fans searched for reliable information, another important question emerged. When the next major WNBA headline appears, will fans slow down and wait for confirmation, or will the cycle begin all over again? That question may ultimately be the most important takeaway from this entire discussion. As the season continued, one thing became impossible to ignore. The WNBA wasn't just growing. It was entering a completely new era. Every nationally televised game attracted more viewers. Every major matchup generated more discussion. Every viral clip reached millions of basketball fans within hours. That level of attention changed everything. Across #WNBA, supporters noticed that even routine coaching decisions, player interviews, and on-court moments could become national talking points. Comments under @WNBA reflected just how invested fans had become. Some celebrated the league's rapid growth. Others worried that social media was encouraging people to jump to conclusions before the full story was known. Basketball analysts pointed out that this is one of the challenges every fast-growing sports league eventually faces. More viewers bring more passion. More passion brings more debate. And more debate often means that dramatic headlines spread faster than careful reporting. At the same time, players across the league continued doing what they had always done: preparing for games, studying film, working with teammates, trying to improve every day. Inside locker rooms, the focus remained on basketball. Outside locker rooms, the focus often shifted toward online discussions and trending topics. That contrast highlighted an important reality. The experience of playing professional basketball can look very different from the experience of following it through social media. Across #basketball, many fans began asking a broader question. How can the excitement of the WNBA continue growing while encouraging conversations that are grounded in reliable information? There isn't a simple answer. But one thing is clear. The league has reached a point where every major storyline attracts enormous attention. That attention creates incredible opportunities. It also creates greater responsibility for everyone involved: players, coaches, media, creators, and fans alike. As the regular season moved forward, the games themselves continued providing new moments for supporters to celebrate. New rivalries developed. Young stars emerged. Veteran leaders continued making an impact. Those basketball stories remained at the heart of what makes the WNBA special. And as the spotlight continued growing, one final question remained. Can the league continue building on this momentum while keeping the focus where players and fans want it most? On the competition itself? That may be one of the defining questions for the WNBA's future. As the conversation slowly began to settle, one thing became clearer than ever. The biggest story wasn't a single rumor. It wasn't one viral headline. And it wasn't one social media debate. The biggest story was how much the WNBA has changed. Just a few years ago, many regular season games received only limited national attention. Today, every nationally televised matchup becomes a major event. Every post-game interview is clipped and shared. Every standout performance creates thousands of reactions across #WNBA. That's a sign of a league that continues to grow. With that growth comes something every successful sports league eventually experiences: greater expectations. Fans now expect elite competition every night. They expect transparency. They expect consistent officiating. And they expect the biggest stars to deliver memorable performances whenever they step onto the court. Comments under @WNBA show just how passionate the basketball community has become. Some fans focus on strategy. Others analyze player development. Many debate coaching decisions, playoff races, and championship contenders. Those conversations reflect a fan base that cares deeply about the future of the sport. Meanwhile, players across the league continue preparing the same way they always have: practice, film study, recovery, team meetings. The work behind the scenes rarely becomes a headline. But it's that work, not internet speculation, that determines what happens once the game begins. Across #basketball, analysts continue emphasizing that the league's future will be shaped by the quality of play, the emergence of new stars, and the continued growth of rivalries that capture fans' attention. Every season introduces new storylines, new breakout players, new championship contenders, new unforgettable moments. Those are the moments that ultimately define the WNBA. Not one trending topic, not one viral clip, not one week of online discussion. As the season moves forward, the focus naturally returns to the court. Who will rise when the pressure is highest? Which teams will peak at the right time? Which players will create the next unforgettable highlight that has everyone talking? Those answers can't be predicted on social media. They'll be earned through performance, through teamwork, through preparation, and through competition. Perhaps that's the biggest lesson from everything we've seen. The WNBA has reached a point where millions of people care deeply about what happens every week. That's an incredible achievement for the league. And if that momentum continues, the next chapter of women's basketball could be even bigger than the last. What do you think? Has the WNBA entered its most exciting era yet? Which team do you believe has the best chance to make a deep postseason run? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more WNBA news, basketball analysis, and the biggest stories from around the league. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.